So, here I am, John, aka Jonaus, doing the 10th edition of the Jonaus Blogs. Hard to believe I've actually kept these going so that they've hit double figures, but there we go. So, after lots of consideration, I think I finally decided what today's episode, I think I'll call them episodes, is going to be about. Now, I was originally going to review Raw, but quite frankly, it was so, it was so middle of the road that there's not much for me to say. I was a little bit surprised at the fatal four-way, I suppose, and I expected it to be a triple threat, but no, not really much for me to say. Instead, I thought I'd actually go into the past a little bit and talk about something rather retro. That is, the original ECW. You see, my housemate decided he was going to shell out a bit of money and went ahead and bought The Rise and Fall of ECW on DVD. Now, I'd heard of this, most notably the fact that the DVD set has actually shattered WWE records for home video selling, and I believe it's sold around 250,000 units worldwide. And therefore I thought it'd be worth having a look at myself, after he'd watched it first, of course. And to be honest, I was rather impressed. I mean, when you consider that WWE basically put ECW out of business, kind of, in a roundabout way, you wouldn't expect a documentary designed by the WWE themselves, commissioned perhaps I should say, by the WWE themselves. You wouldn't expect it to be very fair and honest, but it's extremely honest and has a lot of varied opinions. I mean, you have Eric Bischoff trying to say that ECW was nothing but a fringe phenomenon. You have Paul Heyman basically trying to say that his brainchild is the best thing and always will be the best thing since sliced bread. Then you have Vince McMahon in the middle of it all saying, you know what, I was rather impressed by ECW, but all the same I can't help thinking that they made too many mistakes, and Paul Heyman being a bad businessman was probably what tipped them over the edge. I mean, most people who are smart wrestling fans will by now probably know that Vince McMahon financially and, of course, exposure-wise, helped ECW by giving them money to compensate for the talent he took, and for all around giving them exposure by allowing them to occasionally invade his programming. So Vince actually comes across for once, we're talking about Vince the person here, not Vince McMahon, the character we see on television. Vince McMahon came across as an altogether decent human being. Bischoff, I'm not so sure. He just comes across as a slimy businessman. To be honest, I've always thought of him to be. But moving away from the three main business personalities, I think it's also interesting to get the viewpoints of the many people who worked for ECW, in the sense that they created the matches everyone came to see. Yeah, the wrestlers are very, very upfront in all what they think about ECW, and it's also good to see that they kept it down to the people who worked at ECW. We didn't get many WWE alumni coming in and saying, you know what, I thought this was rubbish. Fair enough, Jerry Lawler comes in at some point and says he wasn't too keen in ECW, but in the same way he also helped them anyway by showing up at one of their pay-per-views and giving them one hell of a main event one time. So you can't really blame him for all his dislike of ECW. He didn't exactly bury them completely, so I can let that slide. So overall, what do I think of the ECW Rise and Fall DVD? Well, I think it's pretty good. I have to admit I haven't watched the extra matches yet. May do that tonight, and I may briefly comment on them in the next video blog. But I think the overall documentary, which, let's face it, is what you buy it for mainly, I think that's pretty good. I think it's very fair, and it gives you a great idea of the history, because living in the UK, I didn't really see much of ECW, apart from the very late 90s, early 2000s stuff, which was rather weak in comparison by then, because ECW had been rather ransacked by then. So it was good for me, someone who knew kind of the ECW name, but really was only most affair with the reunion pay-per-views WWE put on, and of course the revitalised brand with the ECW name. Kind of made me wish ECW was around in that form now, but yeah, it was good. I enjoyed the documentary, and I'd give it probably about, I'm gonna say 8 out of 10. Because you get the feeling they did gloss over certain things, but yeah, it's a pretty complete look at ECW as it was in its original incarnation. So there we have my thoughts on the original ECW, or at least the version that WWE have laid out for everyone to view. Yeah, so I'm glad to have put that out there, and as usual, feel free to comment on anything I said there. I know my review is probably out the most detailed, but I've only got 10 minutes to work with, and that's excluding all the starting titles and ending credits. So yeah, I hope my reviews are totally hallucinating everyone, and you'll probably see me within the next couple of days. So with that, I'm signing out as John Forever Hardcore Potter. Bye bye.